Okay, well, good afternoon, all. It is 1 o'clock. I'll call our meeting to order. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Nation, the Anishinaabe Nation, my mistake, the people of the Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. And further, we give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the traditional keepers of these lands and waters since time immemorial. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and friendship with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. I know. Is there anyone registered for open forum, Madam Clerk?
None today, Mayor Milne.
Okay, thank you. Someone care to move confirmation of the agenda? Martin, Jim, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest related to any item on today's agenda? Not seeing any. If one should arise during the course of the meeting, you can declare it at that time. There are no delegations or presentations. Adoption of the minutes from March 6th of this year, the regular council meeting, and the minutes of the March 6th special council meeting as presented. Someone care to move? Barb, second by Jason. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Reports of municipal officers. First, we start with the planning department. We have a zoning bylaw amendment for Peter and Rebecca O'Donnell. Someone care to move that, please? Joan, and seconded by Jim. Good afternoon, Bill and Victoria. The floor is yours. I'm not sure who's taking this one, but proceed, please.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. I believe it's me.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to see you all today. It's a pleasure to see you all today, and this is an application for rezoning, as you mentioned, in Cedarville. It arrives out of 6 lot creation severances at the Committee of Adjustment a year or so ago. A public meeting was held, I would think, about a year and a bit ago. And we brought this forward to you, I would say, a month or so ago, and to seek your direction on proceeding. And we did give notice to agencies that had commented on the previous application, as well as to members of public. And I'm not sure anything came in. I did not see any comments come back. The essence of this proposal is to create 6 lots in a village settlement, and council or Committee of Adjustment had approved the severances with conditions. One condition being rezoning. Another relevant condition is acquisition of road widening. And within the report, you can see a snippet of the reference plan, and it's quite a busy little drawing, but it shows all the road widening that is needed on Fears Drive and at the County Road intersection, and a turnaround so that municipal vehicles can do proper maintenance on the road. So the Public Works Manager has approved that reference plan. So we're moving forward to meeting the conditions of this severance. One of the final ones is adopting a zoning bylaw to change the lands from its restricted agricultural zone to a residential 5 zone. The lots that are to be created comply with the frontage and area requirements of the R5 zone. For information of council, the 4 reports and 1 survey sketch are included. If you're interested, they did an extensive archaeological assessment, the stage 1 and 2 report, and they have filed that on the province's registrar, as they are required to do. In speaking with one of the owners, I was advised that members of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation were present during that archaeological investigation, which typically involves plowing up the part of it involves plowing the fields open, and then everybody walks in a scientific fashion to assess whether there's anything to be documented there. And based on my review of that assessment, there is nothing that would prevent the severance and the lot creation from proceeding. We've reviewed this as a staff. As I mentioned, the lots are a proper size. Public Works is going to have improved access for maintenance. So the road will be widened, and Public Works and the solicitor are working on an agreement with the owner for them to contribute to upgrading the road. It needs to be widened and brought to a proper rural standard. Just a word on the reference plan, which is that survey document on, I think it's page 3. You can see a lot of other lots kind of underlying there, almost 30 of them. Those lots are not created. That's part of the underlying legal description, but we do have road widening along there as well, but they're not zoned for development as a result of this practice. But it's a little unusual to see that many lots along the road, but they don't legally exist there. What I call an underlying legal description, I guess. This is consistent with provincial policy. Staff are recommending that you proceed to consider the zoning bylaw amendment and that it represents proper infilling of the village.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions from council? Martin.
Good afternoon, Bill. These little lots, so you said they're not legally, they're just there on paper as the survey. So with these 6 severances, we'll get rid of those checkerboard lots forever then? Might seem a silly question, but.
The parts that are created where there are going to be lots, that would eliminate them because there would be new deeds registered on top of them. There is a process called deeming a subdivision plan that council could take that would deem them all not to be lots in a registered plan. I'm not convinced it's a legal subdivision plan. I didn't look into the date those lots were created, so I couldn't say for sure that they are eliminated by this process. Certainly the ones that are outside the lots that are being created, we would have to look at deeming them to eliminate their existence. Some of them have homes on them already, I believe, as well. So.
Okay, Martin.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jason.
Just wondering with the road widening, maybe that's the Jim, when it's a county road, does the county have much involvement on that, or do they kick in for anything, or that's all our?
Jim.
Good afternoon, good people. In this instance on County Road 14, the county is requesting the daylight triangle for sightline. So again, I think what happens when there's a severance, it triggers for road widening. So we take that 3 meters. It doesn't mean necessarily we're widening the road 3 meters. It means the right of way is increasing by 3 meters. So the intended work that we're entering into agreement on is above to the north, where right now equipment is turning around in a laneway. And we have the opportunity to take a P circle there and create that for safer maintenance purposes. So.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I knew that, but the roadway, I just wasn't sure. It's not a real big corner if you get a lot of stuff going in there. But anyway, I just wondered, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Barb?
Thank you and good afternoon, staff and council and Bill and Victoria. Thank you, Bill, for getting back to me about those underlying lots. That certainly did pop into my questioning as well. There was a resident who submitted a question about traffic and whether or not a stop sign would be required. Obviously, I would imagine there's a stop sign coming onto Grey Road 14, but should there be I don't know if that was ever addressed as being required by the county for these 6 lots. It's reassuring that it's only 6 estate lots that are going in there and not, 32. Could you just speak to the public comment, or Jim's got his hand up as well. So
Jim.
thank you.
Yeah, so currently the intersection is controlled by the county. There is a stop sign there. And as far as Jason's comment, any improvement for the intersection, the county hasn't indicated that to extend the culvert or to widen the entranceway off the intersection. So currently that's not being looked at. But there is a stop sign in place and it is under county control.
Very good. Yeah, go ahead.
And just to clarify, I knew that there was a stop sign coming onto Gray Road 14. I think the resident was implying that perhaps it should be like to stop traffic on County Road 14. And I think that was what their question was, but I think you've answered it. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Seeing no further questions, I'll call the question. Is all those in favor, please? That is carried. Thank you. Now we move on to the bylaw regarding the same zoning bylaw amendment. Any further comments, Bill or Victoria?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Any, Barb, go ahead. Oh, mover, yeah. Seconder, Jason, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next one is the zoning bylaw amendment considered for Ted Atchison. Someone care to move that, please? Joan and Martin, thank you. Bill or Victoria?
Thank you, Mayor
Yep.
Milne. This is a severance application proceeding to conclusion. One of the conditions is a rezoning related to the lot area of the retained parcel. Retained parcel is at the north end of the site. Contains the farm home, the farm cluster. This severance was approved in May of 2022. And they applied for rezoning. You held the public meeting back in February. There was no concerns at that time. It's interesting because this parcel is separated by the rail trail, and I'm finding interesting that there seems to be a few situations where what appeared to be normal severance or natural severances are not. And so I'm learning more about this as we go, but this one has a approved severance. The zoning, we are recommending that you adopt. There's proper frontage on the roads, safe access, and so forth. So not much more to say other than we're allowing for the reduced lot area for that existing farm cluster, the corner. And we're recommending you consider approving the rezoning.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Any questions? Seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Now we move on to the bylaw for the same zoning bylaw amendment for Ted Atchison. Anything to add, Bill or Victoria? No?
No.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, I need a mover and seconder. My mistake. Barb and Jim. Any questions from council? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Zoning bylaw amendment considered for JFAB Manufacturing, Inc. Someone care to move that, please? Jason, seconded by Joan. Thank you. Bill or Victoria?
Thank you, Mayor Milne. This is an interesting severance. We had some dialogue at the public meeting about this. There was a question about the wetland on the severed lot. It's at the intersection of Southgate Road 6 and I think that's County Road 8. And there is a provincially significant wetland west of this site. The one on the severed parcel is not. It is a wetland and it is protected by zoning, but it is not considered a provincially significant wetland. The other complicating factor in this one was that the on-farm diversified use included in the rezoning application on lot area exceeded the designation requirements for a lot that size. And subsequent to those comments, the applicant's agent did agree to reduce it to comply with the standards in the official plan. So the on-farm diversified use is in compliance with the rural designation, and the zoning has been written to do that. The zoning has also been written to address the lot area, which is undersized for both the severed and retained lots. But it is in a designation that allows one lot per original township parcel. And so it's just a difference between the official plan policy and the zoning rules, which require a 40 hectare lot. These would be, well, the small one would be 18.8 and the other one would be 20.1. So this is the retained parcel also already has a on-farm diversified use on it. In the rural designation, it's not emphasized as much that this be an active farm, in a sense that we don't have to get a farm designation number on the people and so forth. So it is a small severed lot, and a good chunk of it is wetland. But the OFDU is to be accessory to that. We believe with the reduction that was provided by the agent that this could comply with the rural designation. So we're satisfied that the zoning would be appropriate in this instance, and happy to answer any questions. The wetland really does not impact on the siting of the structures. And in the comments from the agencies, I believe they waived any concern about and the need for an environmental impacts statement. I think that was raised in the county comments. So a full environmental impact study was not needed for this proposal. Just at the end, there are also some conditions on the setback from the wetland and fencing and so forth during construction. And we would propose to include those in any site development agreement that is executed. And believe that can be, those conditions can be taken care of through our normal procedures. I'd be happy to answer any questions and discuss the zoning as proposed.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any questions from council? Barb?
Through you, thank you to Bill. So my understanding is that the council of the day approved an on-farm diversified use based on the lot being 40 hectares originally. Whether or not it required 40 hectares, that was what the on-farm diversified use was based on. They are now proposing to sever off, divide the lot in order to have another on-farm diversified use. So future industrial parkways. And there are additional severances coming forward that have been in consultation with the Conservation Authority. I just see this as another way to increase the number of on-farm diversified uses because, and exceptions to the rules. I understand that it's a rural designation and the criteria changes with that. Wouldn't mind understanding that a little bit more clearly. But I'm not supportive of these severances, creating undersized lots and changing the terms of the site plan or agreements that were put in place previous councils.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is a tie vote. That is lost. But I'll call for a recorded vote, Madam Clerk, please.
A recorded vote was called on staff report PL 2024-017, zoning bylaw amendment C2-24 JFAB manufacturing. Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Councillor John,
No.
Deputy Mayor Dobreen,
No.
Councillor Singh Soares,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Nope.
Mayor Milne,
Yes.
Councillor Ferguson.
Yes.
By a vote of 4 to 3, that has carried.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the bylaw for the same zoning bylaw amendment. Would someone care to move that? Jason, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Anything further to add, Bill or Victoria?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay, that's a tie vote is lost. I'll ask for a recorded vote, please.
A recorded vote called for bylaw 2024-027 zoning bylaw amendment C2-24 JFAB manufacturing. Deputy Mayor Dobreen? Opposed. Counselor Singh Stores?
Yes.
Mayor Milne?
In favor?
Counselor Ferguson?
In favor.
Counselor Shipston?
Nope.
Counselor Rice?
Yes.
Counselor John? By a vote of 4-3, that has carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Okay, moving on to zoning bylaw amendment for the numbered company regarding Hagan Street in Dundalk. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, second by Jim. Thank you. Bill or Victoria?
Thank you, Mayor Milne. This is probably the third time you've seen this application. I don't have to go through a whole lot of the background, except that to assure you that we've done our best to notify all the people who participated throughout as far as providing comments, including the school council. The form of this development has changed since the application, and under the Planning Act, you're allowed to consider this bylaw and determine that you don't need to give further notice on it. I think that you've been very accommodating to all parties, including the applicant, in terms of allowing them to present information to you. And I think it's evolved to something improved from my perspective as a planner, that it began with a large residential building that was situated in the middle of the lot, and with the parking in front of that building facing Gold Street and Hagan Street. And the lots to be created would be through the party walls of the building to be constructed. And there was no private outdoor space other than the space along the side lot lines that would be adjacent to the two homes on either side, and in the front yard where a lot of the parking would be. And partway through the process in our technical report, we provided a drawing that showed a semi facing Hagan Street where the water and sewer is available and the road is in place, with the semi facing there, and then an accessory building at the back upon which there could be another unit. And after some discussion with the applicants and with you, we brought back another drawing that had the two semis facing each street with a much smaller front yard, and a requirement that there be an attached garage and a minimum of 4 meters rear yard space that would be available on each parcel for each owner of the semi-detached dwelling unit. I believe that form of development is more compatible with the neighborhood. If you look to the north on Gold Street, that one home is more oriented toward Gold Street, while the other home kind of orients towards Hagan Street. And I think it provides a reasonable transition between the two homes. I think it provides a better living environment and still can accommodate the affordable type housing that we all want and need and believe is necessary in our community and communities all around Ontario. So that's what the zoning has been written to provide for. And the applicant's agent has reviewed that zoning and has advised us that they are satisfied it meets their needs. There is a holding zone that would be placed on those units facing Gold Street. And that holding zone is conditional upon the applicants signing a agreement with the township on the nature of road improvements needed on Gold Street. So those buildings cannot be constructed until the agreement is reached. And we would be encouraging that to begin. If the applicants are urgent on getting forward with this, they need to start those discussions soon. We believe this is consistent with the provincial policy statement and that it supports the housing initiatives that are in the province and provides what hopefully will be more attainable housing in the community.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions from council? Barb?
Thank you through you, Mayor Milne, and to Bill. I want to thank you for the education. I've also learned since then that we can't prohibit secondary dwellings, but that the restrictions or the variances, the side yard and the front yard setbacks will likely be a natural deterrent to a legal secondary dwelling. We can't control, some of those other things. And while you did indicate, Bill, in the public meeting that this wasn't the most ideal location, it is permitted. And it might be the best compromise that we could come up with at this time. It is a small backyard, but it nonetheless is a nice little patio area. And I think you've addressed the streetscape for both Hagan and Gold Street a little bit better, with regard to the other houses, the proximity of the other houses. So I hope that the developer is geared or targeting the right price point to meet our expectations that this medium density will in fact be more attainable in price. We have no control over that either. Thank you.
Thank you. Not ideal, but permitted. Interesting phrase.
It is.
I know. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is tied. That lost. That loses. I'll ask for a recorded vote.
Recorded vote called on staff report PL 2024-018, zoning bylaw C 17-23, 191 Hagan Street West. Deputy Mayor Dobreen,
In favor?
Councillor Singh Soares,
No.
Mayor Milne,
In favor.
Councillor Ferguson,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Councillor Rice,
No.
Councillor John. No. By a vote of 4-3, that's carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the bylaw regarding the same zoning bylaw amendment. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Anything to add? Bill, Victoria?
Mayor Milne, I do have something brief to add.
Certainly.
It's not directly related to this application, but I did want to mention to you that a report will be forthcoming next month on the additional housing unit standards for urban areas. And so I wanted council to be assured that we will work with you to address the issue and how you want to see these manifest themselves. We've known for a while, since sort of I became involved in the planning, that we needed to bring this forward, and the CBO continues to get requests for additional residential units. And so we want to work with you to develop a standard that you were can agree with. And I do think you have more control than maybe was originally portrayed out in the media, say. So I think we can do a good job of it. It won't be perfect again, but I wanted to assure council that you will have a say in how that works out in your community.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Questions on the bylaw? Okay, recorded vote has been asked for. Are there any questions before we call the vote? Clerk, go ahead, Lindsay, please.
For the recorded vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just to remind everyone to use their microphones when they're
Oh.
calling their vote, just so that people online can hear. So recorded vote called for bylaw 2024-028 zoning bylaw amendment C17-23, 191 Hagan Street. Counselor Rice,
No.
Deputy Mayor Dobreen,
In favor.
Counselor Shipston,
Yes.
Mayor Milne,
In favor.
Counselor Singh Soares,
No.
Counselor Ferguson,
Yes.
Counselor John.
No.
By a vote of 4-3, that is carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank you, Bill and Victoria. That concludes our planning section.
Thank you, Mayor Mill and Council. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, there's a bylaw later, I guess. Okay. Economic Development Officer, Brenna Carroll. Good afternoon, Brenna. She has a report here regarding a CIP application for AC Capital Rentals. Someone care to move that, please? Joan, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Welcome, Brenna. The floor is yours. Do you have any comments on the report? You are muted. Can you hear us, Brenna? Earth to Brenna.
I'll go see if she's there.
Well, perhaps we could come back to that report. If everyone's agreeable, we'll move on while they sort out any technical issues. No one objects. All right. Bylaws and motions. The first is a amending agreement for circular materials and Ontario Master Services. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, seconded by Joan. Thank you. Jim, is this your report? Yep, please. Floor is yours, sir.
Oh, shoot.
All right, carry on, Jim.
So this is a cleanup of some language. The previous agreement had some very lengthy definitions for fuel, half page for them, but they've been condensed. The formulas haven't changed, but there was an index change. The first agreement had a CPI index for fuels for July of 2023. And now that's being adjusted to March of the calendar year. So very minor in nature and not concerning for the agreement at this point in time. So
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Are there any questions from council regarding this report? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Jim. Adoption of the revenues and expenses for the calendar year of 2024. Someone care to move that, please? Joan and Jim. Taylor, welcome. Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Are you working in IT now? I saw you were working with
Not
Brenna.
well. Not well.
Very
I think I'll stay in finance for now.
good.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Her computer won't unmute, but I think she's gonna hop on my laptop when it's her turn, so. Yeah, so as we've gone through many times now, we're finally at the 7.6 rate, and I have the bylaw which outlines all of the net revenues and expenses for each department. And if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer.
Very good. Thank you, Taylor. Are there any questions from council? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Brenna is handy. If she wants to jump onto your machine or.
Yeah, she's coming. Thank you so much.
Afternoon, Brenna.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and thank you to Taylor for allowing me to sit in on this. I'll just leave this meeting. So yes, I have a report to present regarding CIP funding for AC Capital Rentals. AC Capital Rentals owns 66 Main Street East in Dundalk, and they're building. They're adding a roof. They're adding a steel roof, sorry, to the back section of their building, which fronts onto 40 Artemisia Street. And this funding would be covered under the building and land improvement grants under the CIP. So $10,000 would cover just under half of the cost of the cost of the roof. So yes, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Brenna. I don't think we had a mover and seconder yet, did we?
Oh, shoot.
Okay, we do. Good. Any questions? Jason?
I kind of thought this program was more for facade. I know it's a roof, but I mean, it's not really improving the looks of anything. I don't know, and then it's an out of town or out of municipality owner or two. I don't know. I got a bit of a problem with it. Just like, where does it stop then? But I don't know. I thought it was more for facade, and I guess you'd call the roof facade, but just a question.
Brenna, you want to?
Yeah, of course. And thank you for that question. And through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. I think a lot of CIPs, they are really meant to target more so facade and the look and feel of downtowns. From my understanding of our CIP, it's meant to be very open to a variety of different upgrades so that it can support commercial businesses that are outside of the downtowns. So on a variety of projects, so it doesn't necessarily look like it's just focusing on Dundalk. So I believe that's why roof is included under the Building and Land Improvement Grant. But yeah, so it's open to any business across the municipality to use that. So the answer is yes, it is more so for facade and signage, but there's various programming just to allow different businesses to use it in various ways.
Thank you, Brenna. Okay. Any other questions? Martin?
Looking at it, it does say Building and Land Improvement Grant, Section 4.2, and then he does say that this is most needed, and then in the future, he will be looking at a facade. For the price, since Bev is here, is it, when they're putting on a steel roof over a shingled roof, is it code to take off the shingled roof? Just to have that out there? Putting you on the
Well,
spot.
I'm gonna allow the question, but it's not really pertinent to what we're here for. But Bev, go ahead.
Well, it does because it will affect the price.
Fair enough. Yep. Bev?
To the best of my knowledge, it is not a requirement to remove the shingles from a roof before you put steel on it. There are requirements before the steel goes on above the shingles, but that would be it.
Thanks, Bev. Thanks, Martin. Barb?
Thank you. And thank you, Brenna, for speaking with me on this and having the discussion. I too had the question about facade versus roofing. And you just said that this is on the back of the building at 66 Main, which runs onto the Dundalk Auto Glass on Artemisia. But is it the roofing of Dundalk Auto Glass owned by this applicant that is being replaced? Or is it the section in the middle between 66 Main and that adjoins 40 Artemisia? I believe the report said it's actually the roof of Dundalk Auto Glass.
That's correct. From my understanding from the drawing that's in there, and from viewing the building, it is the section over Dundalk Auto Glass that currently has a shingled roof, and that will be altered so that it has a metal roof to match the remainder of the building. The front part of the building already has a metal roof, steel roof.
Go ahead.
So it is more, it is leaning to aesthetics as well as function as well. You also mentioned that it is up to council to decide whether we want to award the full 50% or whether we want to award a different amount, given the fact that they are planning other improvements to the perhaps facade that would be more in keeping with the community improvement grant. Could you just clarify that as well?
Yes, if you look on the application form that the that the applicant has filled out. On page 3, under the applicant acceptance of terms and conditions, point 6, it says that township may grant a lesser amount than requested based on available funding. So the applicant has been made aware that although within the CIP, they can request the full half for the cost of the project, it's possible that the council may change the amount given based on need and what they feel is an appropriate amount to be given to them. And then that's also clear in the CIP in section 9.4 of the administration of the CIP. It just explains that council has the final authority to approve funding. So yes, it's within council's ability to be able to alter the funding amount, and the business owner is aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Monica?
Hi, yes, good afternoon. Just through you, Chair, to Brenna. Just for our understanding, if this is approved, is there a timeline to which the grant needs to be utilized?
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so following if this is approved, then the business owner has the approval document ready to go that says that they will complete the project within a time frame. I forget the exact time frame, but I believe it's within a year or so, unless they ask for an extension. But it does appear from their documentation that this project is supposed to take place by the end of April, I believe.
Thank you. Barb? Oh, Jason, go ahead.
I just wondered how are the funds released as soon as we approve it, or once completion is done? How does that work?
Yes, thank you, Council, for the question. And again, through you, Mr. Mayor. No, the funds, they can start their project as soon as it's approved. So if it's approved today, they can start this afternoon on the project if they so wish. And then they won't receive the funds until they present invoices of the project. So if the invoices end up being less than the project actually is, we would have to alter the amount, because we can't give more than half the price of the total project. So that's the purpose of making sure we get the invoices, and to actually say that they complete it as they said. So for example, if they put in another shingled roof, then we couldn't cover the cost because they said that they were going to put in a steel roof. That's just an example. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Barb?
Thank you, through you, and I'm contemplating maybe an amendment that would approve $7,500 as opposed to $10,000, given that we want to make sure that this fund is available to as many as possible, and their future plans to improve the rest of their building as well. I could put that on the floor and see if there's a seconder, and we can, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would propose an amendment that we award $7,500, put it on the table and see what happens.
Is there a seconder for that amendment? Okay, thank you. Discussion on the amendment? Well, from the chair, I would just say I would be hesitant to reduce the amount anybody has applied for under the rules of the program. And I understand that council has the ability to change the amount arbitrarily. If the applicant had only wanted 7,500, that's what they would have applied for. So anyway, those are my comments. Any other questions, comments? Okay, call the question. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? That is lost.
That's fine. Thank you.
Very good. Back to the original motion. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Bylaw regarding the road widening and P turnaround. Always have trouble saying that. Why? Someone care to move that, please? Jason, thank you. Second by Barb. Jim, is this your report or is it planning?
It's
I'm-
through you, Brian.
Yeah, I'm gonna, sorry?
It's between planning and kind of Jim, but they have signed off, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it.
It's the same as our normal road widening bylaws to
Yeah.
implement a condition of consent. This one does include the P turnaround, which
Right,
Jim will have to speak to.
Sure.
If there's questions.
Jim, do you have anything to add or?
No, just that was earlier on in the council about this presentation here was that we have the opportunity to create a safe turnaround for vehicles. So I think that's a win for the township and operations. So, but again, the road widening is just standard with severance it triggers. So.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. I see Victoria has signed back on. Victoria, did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, sorry, Bill signed off. I was here, but no, I don't think there was anything else that he wanted to add from earlier.
All right, thank you for signing back on in case we did have any questions. All right, any questions from council? Jason?
Just on the turnaround, Jim, is that, does any of that fall on the owner of the lots or is that all our? Do we pay for the gravel and doing it all?
Jim?
Yeah, no, it is all played by the developer. We have looked at it, we've constructed them before with time and materials, with our forces at our rates and, the gravel quantities, at the cost that, we're incurring. And that, any subcontractor brought in, they're charged at their rates or whatever. So it's all on the developer to pay for this, and as well, they pay for the registration, the title, change, all illegal. That's all on them. And we have given them an estimate, but that again is based on last fall's numbers that we put together, but there will be actuals to what we are doing.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to notice of motion. Councillor Singh Soares has a motion there regarding conference attendance. Councillor Singh Soares, you're going to move that, I presume? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Barb will second that. Okay. Councillor Singh Soares.
Hi, yes, just good afternoon to everyone again. And basically, with regards to this notice of motion, I just wanted to address concerns immediately with regards to the conference attendance policy, which I know is 3 maximum. So this would be a 4th conference request, and this is based on the board being implemented after the fact. So when we were making the decision for conferences, that was at the beginning of this year, as we know. So those choices were made, and then we come to find out that the appointment happened for the Police Services Board after the choices were made. With that being said, especially attending March 12th, which was our first initial meeting for the Police Services Board, there was great significant discussion about the conference and how even from the senior leadership that were there, that would be crucial, I believe, at this point to have representation and attendance to this conference, because we are pretty much in an unprecedented board that's been put together. So I understand that the conference policy is in place so that there's not this overboard and people attending 10 or 12 conferences or whatnot. However, I find that this to be a bit of an exceptional case, just with the simple fact that it was after the fact. And anytime that I make decisions to attend any conferences, there's meticulous planning that comes on my end. So while there's great work that is done by the organizers and our wonderful staff, each one of us knows what we need to do in our own lives to be able to attend these conferences. So just being I have a young family, I have kids, school age. I'm tri-vocational. I'm working 80 to 100 hours weekly on average. And when I make these decisions to attend these things, they're not made lightly. So this is not something for luxury or any type of privilege that way. It is simply to attend a 2-night conference that is for a board that was implemented and put together after the fact. And every conference that I attend, it is very well thought out to attend. Just in addition to that, I do have other workshops, symposiums, trainings, orientations, speaking engagements. We all have lives, so I have a lot that I do balance. So when I make these decisions and I plan for these, I like a long runway. That's why I appreciate the staff always going a bit proactive and planning these things ahead, like in January. But we do know that things do come up. And that's what's happened in this case. And my commitment to serve the public and in the best interest of serving the public, I believe attending this conference, this 2-night conference, that's very thankfully more local than the other ones, would be in a great interest. And I thank the council for appointing me to this police services board and for furthering the support in enriching that area to be able to serve on that board effectively.
Thank you, Monica. Any discussion, questions? Barb?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I actually support your attendance at the Police Services Board Conference as our newly appointed representative or appointee at this brand new board. I think it's important that we have representation there. I'm not supportive of waiving our policy when there are other options available. I was wondering through you, Mayor Milne, to staff, the clerk, is there an option to swap members if members were agreeable? Like swap out for Good Roads and Police Services Board or AMO and Police Services Board?
Sure, yeah, through you, Mayor Milne. There is that option. We have done that in the past, even if people are registered, we can switch the name and we can make that switch. That's easy enough to do.
So we wouldn't necessarily have had to waive policy in order to do that change. We could just
Not,
change it?
in this case, had it just been a switch, it wouldn't need to come to council, but since it's an additional, it needed to come to council.
I see. Through you?
Yep.
Through you to Councillor Ferguson, since you are no longer the representative on the Police Services Board, is it your intent to continue to go to the Police Services Board? And would you be available or agreeable to going to the Good Roads Conference if Councillor Singh Soares was willing to swap conferences?
Yes, that was I signed up for it when I was on the police service board, and when it got switched, there was no point going. So yeah, I would be willing to switch.
So your schedule could accommodate?
Yes.
Okay, so I have one more question through you to
Please.
Councillor Singh Soares. Would you be willing to swap your conference with Councillor Ferguson so that we don't have to waive policy?
So yes, just through you, Chair, and that's something I did consider, was to see if there would be any further interest. One thing I did want to mention is that the SMART Committee, Shawinigan Transit Mobility Committee, there's likely to be a delegation happening at that conference, and I've been attending all of the meetings and working diligently on this with the committee. But for the fact for that delegation, and in addition, this was originally one of the reasons I chose this conference is I have never attended it. So that's a little bit more of a side point or a secondary point. The primary point is I did work alongside those on the SMART Committee to prepare this delegation that is just around the corner. And when I give my word to do something, and when I'm a part of something, again, with meticulous planning, that I've gone to lengths to be able to attend this, again, I would have to work out my work schedule, I made specific arrangements with my different vocations in other areas. And also my husband would have to he made his arrangements as well. So I'm flexible on that as well. But in this case, for this conference and the conferences that have already been planned with the delegation, with the work that has been done, with the arrangements that have been done, and the fact that this is just next month, I'm gonna have to say that I would not be willing to do that at this time for that reason. And I understand with the fourth additional conference that with our remuneration report that has come out, we can see that we must have an equitable approach when we are looking at these different conferences and things that come up. Meaning that there are some on the remuneration report that may have more expense and less expense. Just because someone has more expense doesn't mean they spend more. It just means that their roles and responsibilities at that time are deeming it necessary for them to participate more. Those that have less expense doesn't mean that they're not working. It means that their roles and responsibility has deemed it what it is for that period of time, that's what they're doing. So I find that, I hope on the council that there's a flexibility in understanding one another roles and responsibilities, and that this conference has come up after the fact. And that I, again, will reiterate that we need to have an equitable approach to one another's roles and responsibilities, as this is not for luxury. Again, this is not for any other reason, but a lot of meticulous planning goes into it. I know we have different lives again, and I do have children. I have vocations. I've made my arrangements. And so I'm going to have to, ask for that understanding and flexibility. And I would also extend that to each council member as well, that as things are unprecedented and changing, I always make that consideration and understanding that there would be other roles and responsibilities that some of us will take on that will require a bit of flexibility. So my answer would be, at this moment, for those reasons, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Considerations? Jason?
I guess I kind of agree with Barb. I don't know about changing the policy. I too want you to go since it's a new board. Is there any one of the other conferences you would consider dropping? I guess that's.
Yes. So just through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Rice. So I'm not looking to change the policy. I'm just asking that in this scenario, that we make like an informed decision in understanding all the areas. I understand that perceptions and optics are a factor that comes into play. But in this case, we need to make informed decisions. That's the best commitment to the public. And to some of us have conferences that we're not going to at all this year, and some are going to 1, 2, or 3. So every year there's going to sometimes be an ebb and flow, and I don't foresee that there will be more boards being developed. This started in 2019, and the implementation just came now for this particular police board. So this was out of all of our control to do that. Again, just with the conferences coming up, the AMO conference being in Ottawa, I went to great lengths in my own vocations in preparing to attend that, being in Ottawa and going that far. So this Good Roads Conference is around the corner. We have a delegation, and I have meticulous planning in that. Same thing with AMO. I know it's a 4th, but I do believe that it would, in this circumstance, it was out of our control. And being the new appointed member, I find that it would be great in the best interest of the community that I do attend this 2-night conference that is more local. So I do look forward to support from council.
Thank you, Monica. Any further questions or discussion? Martin?
Just a comment, the term flexibility, I think Councillor Ferguson's idea of the swap is more than flexible. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Barb?
I'm fearful that the resolution will fail and we'll have no one go to the Police Services Board. And so I through you to the clerk, what would, and there not being an agreement to swap conferences, what would be the next step to ensure that without waiving policy, without making an exception to the policy, how can we, what would be required to put an amendment on the floor?
Through you to Mayor Milne, or through Mayor Milne, sorry. There has been a previous decision of council for Councillor Singh Soares to attend Good Roads, as well as Councillor Ferguson and Mayor Milne to attend OAPSB. So what would need to happen to not, if she's unwilling to switch and we're unwilling to waive policy to give a fourth, we would have to rescind the decision for Councillor Singh Soares to attend either OGRA or AMO and allow her to attend OAPSB so that she only has 3 conferences is what would need to happen.
And would that come in the form of an amendment to this notice of motion, or would we need to, or if the motion as it is proposed fails, would someone need to introduce a new motion to the effect that you just described?
It would be an amendment to this motion. Like you wouldn't, yeah, you can do it right now. Someone would just have to move. I mean, you'd have to waive procedure to rescind, and which would require a 2/3 vote to waive procedure. And then it would, if that is approved, then we would move that Councillor Singh Soares attend OAPSB and Councillor Ferguson attend Good Roads.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is I need a motion to waive procedure first.
Correct. You can like amend a motion to amend to rescind it, to rescind those.
So the motion to amend would waive procedure and do what you're
Yes.
describing.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So is there a mover to that effect? Monica, sorry, Monica, go ahead.
No.
My apologies.
No, that's okay. I just to the point of Councillor Shipston about flexibility, I want to make it very clear that I am flexible. I'm asking for the same from the council. So this was an appointment that happened after the fact. And this is a conference that we all have different lives. I'm not retired or have grown people as kids. I am asking for there to be compassion and understanding that this happened after the fact, and that I would need to make my own arrangements to be able to attend. I'm not asking for the policy to be changed. I am just asking that based on the facts that are at hand, it would, I mean, still be similar funds in the sense of if someone else goes to another conference. So yeah, I just wanted to just mention that I hope we have an equitable approach, and then also going into the future that be continued.
Thank you. And I will remind you that, of course, that we all have different stages of our lives and we all are busy. Okay. Barb.
I'm kind of in a quandary with what you asked about, do we let this fail and then bring a motion to rescind?
No, the clerk,
Or
as I
you did make it clear that we could do this, right?
right.
Okay,
The
then,
amendment is to waive procedure and outline
okay.
as I think I'm hearing from the rest of council. So,
Well, I honestly believe that it's very important for our representative to be at the Police Services Board conference.
I think we agree on that.
And for that reason, I will defer to the clerk to craft what needs to be done in order to make that happen. As much as we would all, I mean, and to that point about flexibility, it wouldn't preclude the mayor or Councillor Ferguson from choosing another conference to go to. They've been allocated funds in the budget to go to a conference. This is a win-win, I think, for everyone. So I'll defer to the clerk, and depending on what she comes up with on the screen, I would likely have to move it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please?
So it would be to amend that council waive procedure to rescind the resolution number I'll have to get from the council meeting that was passed. So it'd be to waive procedure that approved Counselor Singh Source to attend OGRA. And I guess we'd further rescind the resolution that allowed Mayor Milne and Counselor Ferguson to attend OAPSB first. So that's what we would be voting on first, which would require 2/3 vote, which is 5.
Okay. And we couldn't in the same motion and further,
That has to pass on the floor
Okay.
first. Yeah.
all right. I've got a motion on the floor. I need a seconder first before we go any further. Is there a seconder for that motion? Martin, did you second? Thank you. Okay, discussion. Monica and then Jason.
Just through you, Chair, to the clerk, because of the plans that I've gone into already, the conferences that are at hand, would I be able to remove my motion? Because my planning and what I do, it is a lot of work on my end. And I do understand everyone else has busy. That's why I would also take it into consideration if anyone else brought something forward like this, that I would take what they say and that they planned. And so if that's the case, it'd be very difficult for me to reschedule my life and all the things that I made arrangements for to go to the police board. As much as I am looking forward to attending that, which I would also have to make more arrangements with my work and other vocations. If that flexibility is not there on the council and I find it to not be equitable, I will ask that I take my motion off and I keep my conferences as they are, because again, a lot of work on my end has gone into attending the conferences already chosen.
So what I'm hearing is that you're asking not to go to Police Services Board. You'll continue on as a attendee for the Good Roads.
Yes, my hope was that the council would see the circumstances
Right.
that had happened and that there would be that understanding, but unfortunately, I don't see that happening. And I do not want this to get into a place where you do understand that I will need to change
Yep.
all of my plans to, if this council ends up changing,
Yep.
picking and choosing what everyone can go to when we have that ability. I would even propose that next year I don't go to a third. I would possibly, I don't even know if I can go to how many next year, but if it came down to, then maybe if someone has to go to 4 for their roles and responsibilities, could there be an amendment to the amendment that if that happens, then you can only go to up to 2 next year? Is that something that could be flexible on the council that way?
Are you making an amendment? Or are you just
No, if,
suggesting that?
yeah, I'm trying to find a way to work with the council. So if that, it could be an amendment to the amendment or how it would happen, that I'm willing to reduce my conference attendance next year. Again, I don't even know how many I could even go to, but if it came down to it, just because this is so important, and it's very hard for me to change my plans and all the planning that I've gone into, all the work that I have done and my husband has done for me to go to what's already been planned. And this has come after the fact that I'm willing to attend. I would put that out to everybody then. I'm willing to reduce my conference attendance next year if the council would be willing to allow this year.
I'm going to say that the amendment's not really germane to the issue on the floor. So depending on the outcome of this discussion, I'll give you the latitude to introduce something after the fact, if you want, if you wish. You all right with that, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, so right now we have
An
an
amendment?
amendment on the floor, but I think Counselor Singh Soares, I think, would rather just withdraw her motion from what I've understood.
Can we do that at this point?
If the mover and seconder were agreeable to move their amendment off, like take their amendment
Right.
off the floor, then we would be back to Counselor Soares' motion and she would just take it off the floor.
Right, okay.
Like she can do that.
Well, yeah, the mover and seconder of the original motion can withdraw.
Yeah.
And then the other becomes a moot point.
Yes, exactly.
Counselor Singh Soares?
Just through you, Chair, I know it's getting a little bit jungly, like, just wondering about my other consideration. So, because if I withdraw it, then it's not there.
Right.
What if what about the request that if I can reduce my conference attendance next year, just so I can go to this initial one for this year because it is the first?
As I said, I think that would be a separate motion.
Oh, but then would it go backwards? Like,
But if you withdraw your motion,
mhm.
everything stays the way it is currently.
Okay, and then I could put another motion.
Right, if you so wish. Correct. In the future,
Not today.
not today.
Uh,
You could make a notice of motion
Next meeting.
to bring it to the next meeting, but you couldn't do it today,
okay, I
all
see.
right?
All right,
So
I will rescind it.
you withdraw your motion?
Yes, yeah.
Who was the seconder, Madam Clerk? Barb was.
Yes. No, yeah, Barb and Martin have to withdraw their amendment first. To put it back to Counselor Singsor's original,
Okay,
just for logistics.
sure.
And not to, with all due respect and understanding flexibility and time constraints and the amount of effort that you would have had to have put in to arrange to go to Good Roads. We had agreed during the budget deliberations to reduce our conferences to 2 or less. And yes, the policy allows for up to 3, and we approved you to go to Roma. So we were able to accommodate your request to go to 3 conferences. I really do believe that this is an important conference for you to attend, but I'm not comfortable making an exception to go to 4. And unfortunately, I was hoping that was a compromise that could be done, but given your schedule, I'm not getting into, we're not going to argue at the table. I'll withdraw if Martin Shipston is agreeable to withdraw the amendment, and we'll move on.
Okay. All right, so the amendment is withdrawn. Now I'm back to the original motion. Are you still willing to withdraw?
Yes, just with a comment back.
Sure.
Actually a question through you, Chair, to the clerk. Did we change the policy? I understand there was a comment about going to 2 conferences, but isn't it 4-3?
Through you, Mayor Milne, the
Yep.
policy currently states up to 3 pending budget availability. I guess I'll word it that way. I do recall a conversation at the table about reducing, and then I was directed to bring forward changes to the policy in the future, which I have not done yet, but that's forthcoming. But
So I just wanted to have more.
currently it's 3.
So I just wanted to have a more transparent understanding of what happened there.
Yep.
That it's still up to 3, which I'm well within.
Yep, absolutely.
That everyone is allowed to have equitably.
Mhm.
And now, again, I have too much planning that's gone into this. And we have a delegation, next month, very likely, and a lot of meetings I've attended in terms of that. That's really a pushing factor. When I give my word for something, I stick with it. And I've done a lot of work in with the committee for SMART, which is one of my roles and responsibilities, which is just around the corner. It's not like even a few months from now. And that representation for that funding is really important for those with disabilities and challenges so that's why it's very close to my heart, which is also close to my vocation and my employment that I do in my personal life. So I am very dedicated to attending it for that reason. With that being said, yes, Mayor, I would like to rescind my motion because for my reasons already stated multiple times. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you. And the seconder is okay with that? I think you seconded it. Yes, you did.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sure. Joan, go ahead first, please.
Thank you, through the chair. Good afternoon again. I was just wondering if yourself or Councillor Ferguson would be interested in going to the police conference so that we have representation, even though you're not on the board anymore. At least you could bring back a report. Thank you.
I'll discuss that with Councillor Ferguson after the meeting. We'll come to a determination whether we need to do that, but thank you. All right, Jason.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll deal with that. And generally speaking, the Police Services Board conference is not oversubscribed, so
Yeah.
we have time to deal with that. Barb.
That was.
gonna ask
part
for a
A.
recess?
No, yeah. No, we'll get this done first. I was going to ask a similar question as to, this doesn't preclude Councillor Ferguson or Mayor Milne from choosing, if they choose not to go to Police Services Board, then they would have to come back and request to go to a different conference.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Let's, it is now 2:15. Let's recess for a few minutes and stretch our legs. Thank you, Holly. Building inspectors going for a walk. That- It's all good. Okay, moving along, we have the consent items. Regular business, there are 3 items there. Does anybody wish to have any of those removed for further discussion? Monica,
My computer is just opening, but 11.01.3. Thank you, clerk.
the conference report? That one?
I'm so sorry about that. My apologies.
We're on regular business.
Oh, I apologize. My computer's still opening. I rescind my, whatever I just said.
Okay. All right. Motion to receive those. Jim and Barb. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Next is correspondence for information. Anybody request any of those to be removed? Barb? Just to speak. All right. Okay. Would someone care to move? Barb and Joan, thank you. Discussion.
Just to point out that the Happy Birthday Agnes is Sunday, and the organizers have requested council to let them know if they are planning on attending so that they can include them in any reserved seating. It is open and there is no RSVP required for the general public, but I understand that you are going as well as I. So I did say that I would convey to council that if you could reach out to the organizers, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Resolutions from other municipalities for information. Anybody wish any of those to be removed for conversation? Monica?
I just like to remove 11 sorry, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I think it's 11.3.11.
The volunteer firefighter tax credit?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Any others? Barb? And then Joan?
I would like to pull 11.3.9 and 11.3.10.
Thank you, through the chair. I would like to pull 11.3.15.
Okay. Move receipt of the rest. All those in favor? That is, sorry? I need a mover and seconder, Joan and Jason. All those in favor? That is carried. All right, we'll start at the top of the list. Would be 11.3.9. Was that yours, Barb?
Sir.
Okay, go ahead, please. Okay.
Thank you. And through you to council, I would like to move, and I believe, Lindsay, you have the resolution that you could look at that. She's already got it up there. In speaking with our Public Works Manager, I would like to move that we receive the correspondence for information and that we support the resolution by hereby requesting the province to amend Ontario Regulation 391-21 Blue Box so that producers are responsible for end-of-life management of recycling products from all sources. Further, that this resolution be circulated to the municipality of Chatham-Kent, Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Honorable Andrea Khanjin, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, MPP Rick Byers, and all Ontario municipalities, or perhaps it could be circulated through AMO, whichever is appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Martin, thank you. Discussion, if any? All those in favor? That is carried. 11.3.10, Barb?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor, this was a last minute discussion this morning with the CAO and the clerk, and I would like to pull the item just to allow us to direct staff to bring a report to better inform us of the process. I think you have a wording, Lindsay, maybe? To direct staff to bring a report to inform us of the new procurement process and any other information that might help us understand and determine what we need to do, next steps. What, believe I sent it to you.
No, I have it through you, Mayor Milne. It's just Holly that doesn't have it, so.
Okay,
she's
I
trying
can
to write
read
on
it.
the
Just
fly,
one
so-
second.
Yeah.
See the smoke coming out of the keyboard back here, she's just typing away.
This,
Holy mackerel.
it wasn't that long, sorry.
My typing teacher would be definitely impressed. That's definitely a 60 word a minute typing rate.
Sorry, I can't even find it myself.
No doubt. Did you have a seconder yet?
Not yet, because I was waiting to see
Okay.
what I came up with.
Do I have a seconder? Martin, thank you. Okay. So, yes, so the motion's there on the screen. Any discussion? Martin,
I was gonna actually bring it forward too, because reading it, it was kind of confusing in spots and for me anyway, and since we went through it before, it'd be good to have all the information we can have.
Yep.
15 years, 10 years after the fact, so it's good to.
very good. Okay. Any other questions, discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
And this was through conversation with the CAO and clerk, and the planner, Bill White was very kind to respond to some of my concerns. This is not at this present time to reaffirm an unwilling host that currently is in place for the Township of Southgate, but to understand what the Planning Act allows, what this new procurement process entails, and whatever other information staff can bring forward. Thank you.
Very good. Martin,
And just to comment, Dina, you sent that application registration for, is it next Tuesday for IOEP, whatever it is?
ISO, I believe
Yeah,
it's
ISO.
the 26th.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is one in there about new procurement on agricultural land, so it is something to
for
look
green
at.
energy projects. Yep. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 11.3.11. Who's Monica?
Yes,
Please.
thank you. Just through you, Chair, to the council. It's just a resolution for the volunteer firefighter tax credit. So just be it resolved that the correspondence from the Township of Georgian Bay regarding volunteer firefighter tax credit be received for information, and that the Council of the Township of Southgate requests the Government of Canada to increase the tax credit from 3,000 to 10,000 for volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers, and that a copy of this resolution and the Georgian Bay correspondence be forwarded to the Association of Fire Chiefs of Ontario, AMO, MPLX RUF, and all Ontario municipalities. So I was looking to support that
As per the screen.
as per the screen.
Very good. All right. Is there a seconder? Barb? You seconding? Okay, questions?
Question. Should it, and I'm not sure if it was in the original resolution, should it go to the federal government? It's not being circulated to the federal government that would actually make that change, right? And I'm just going to go to the
Could be an
original.
Ontario tax credit, which
I don't think so.
I don't
think
know.
The original one.
but in any
Forgive
case, if
me,
we add
yeah.
it to the federal government, certainly we can do that.
It may have been,
And Alex Rowe.
yeah,
Okay.
he's on there, so.
Okay.
If I recall, yeah, it doesn't say that in there. It was, but if it could go to
FCM?
the appropriate MP in charge of taxes, I don't know. Thank you.
I'll just before I come to you, Martin,
Yeah.
Monica, you all right with that? To send it to a broader group?
Absolutely.
Okay, Martin, please.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Actually did my taxes yesterday. I did not see it on the Ontario, but it was definitely a federal credit.
Oh, okay.
And when you look at the amount from 3,000, some volunteers might not even get that, and some might get 4,000, depending where they are. So if you give them a credit, that means they're basically volunteers because they get that. No, they don't get that. It's a good thing. Put it that way.
Okay.
I'll take away everything I said.
Let's agree it's a good
Been a
thing.
long morning,
All right.
afternoon, but I do agree with
Okay,
it.
all those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. The last one is 11-3-15, which is Township of Amaranth. Joan.
Thank you. Through the chair and to council. Item number 11.3.15, Township of Amaranth Resolution, Minister of Transportation, Highway 413. Be it resolved that the correspondence from the Township of Amaranth regarding Highway 413 be received for information, and that the Council of the Township of Southgate hereby calls on the province of Ontario to pause advancement on the proposed Highway 413 and redirect the approximate 8 billion cost to support municipal infrastructure costs and housing construction initiative. And further, that at least 50% of those funds be allocated for small urban and rural Ontario communities with population of less than 50,000, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Prabmeet Sakaria, Minister of Transportation, MPP Rick Price, and all Ontario municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a seconder? Martin, thank you. Discussion, questions? Martin, do you have?
Well, I was going to bring this forward too, and thank you, Joan, for doing it. With the 8 million being spent, that 8 million can certainly go against the infrastructure deficit that Akash always talks about. And so I'm in wholehearted this.
I think it was 8 gazillion.
Oh, that was last time I looked, it was 37 billion in the hole.
Yeah.
And 8 million.
It's a lot.
Certainly would help rural Ontario.
Absolutely. Okay, any other questions, discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. County report. Barb, did you have something you wanted to
Yes, sir.
highlight?
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Milne, I would like just to highlight, of course, that the County Council is recorded and available on YouTube. And the presentation by Isla Graham and Jira Kukreja was a video. So it would be really an interesting watch and listen. This book that they created is a book of stories of first-generation immigrants to Grey County who share their trials and their triumphs. And it's actually, I've just started reading it. It's really exciting. But what's really exciting is that these two young students are going to be going on to Anaheim, California to compete in the DECA business competition with upwards of 20,000 students and countless teachers and business organizations. So congratulations to Isla and Gia, and I look forward to hearing great things come from these young ladies. The book is available, but they are having a book signing at the Owen Sound Library on March 28th from 5 to 7 p.m.
Thank you, Barb. And indeed, the kids are all right. Just the other one thing that I was going to mention, we had a presentation from Kevin McNabb, who is Director of Paramedic Services for the county, talking about the need and the difficulty of getting new ambulances. In the last 5 years, the cost of an ambulance has gone up 67%. We have one supplier left in Canada that all the paramedic service and ambulance services must compete for their products. And the wait time now is upwards of 2 years to get a vehicle. So, you know, I hear people say to me, why is the municipal increase of your budget, you know, ours is 7.6, others are in the same sort of neighborhood, when the consumer price index is 3 or less? Well, municipalities are not buying the same basket of goods that Mr. and Mrs. Consumer are. We're buying ambulances, we're building roads, and those have gone up tremendously more than 3%. So ambulances is just another indication of what's going on in the world, unfortunately. So any other questions regarding county? No? Okay, we'll move on. Members' privilege. Oh, Martin, go ahead.
Actually, again, you mentioning that about the consumer price index, when I think the construction index, is that what we go by?
Yeah,
Most,
yeah, something like
I
that.
think that's been like 12 and 13
Oh,
for the
yeah.
last 5 years, so.
Yeah, it's different, that's for sure. Fuel and all the rest of it. Members privilege. Anybody have anything? I just wanted to share, I think some of you may have heard, yesterday I was down at Oswego at Six Nations. They had an information, session on, the Haldeman Tract and what's going on with that whole land claim. Very interesting. And, I can tell you that, Southgate is always warmly, welcomed at Six Nations. I got a really nice reception. I attribute that to our transparency and our openness, from past dealings. And with Public Works, we send them our water quality reports and so on, and I think they appreciate that. So I did meet the new chief, Sherry Lynn Hill. She was very gracious in her remarks, and she did actually point out Dundalk specifically, but Southgate in general. So anything else from members' privilege? Nope. Okay. We have a closed meeting. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at, I'm going to say it's 2:36, in order to address matters relating to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, specifically litigation update, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the local municipality or local board, specifically development negotiations. And thirdly, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically legal matters, and that all those required remain in attendance. Would someone care to move that, please? Martin, seconded by Barb. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we're now in close All right, welcome folks back into our open session. I can declare that we only discussed those matters listed on the in-camera agenda. Confirming bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Monica, seconded by Martin. All those in favor? That is carried. Adjournment. Barb, seconded by Jason. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, at 3:52.